right, let's read another book. Make Way for Ducklings. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were looking for a place to live, but every time Mr. Mallard saw what looked like to be a nice place, Miss Mallard said it was no good. There were sure to be foxes in the woods or turtles in the water, and she was not going to raise a family where there might be foxes or turtles. So they flew on. When they got to Boston, they felt too tired to fly any further. There was a nice pond in a public garden with a little island on it. The very place to spend the night, quacked Mr. Mallard. So down they flapped. The next morning they fished for their breakfast in the mud at the bottom of the pond, but they didn't find much. Just as they were getting ready to start on their way, a strange, enormous bird came by. It was pushing a boat full of people, and there was a man sitting on its back. "Good morning," quacked Mr. Mallard, being quite polite. The big bird was too proud to answer, but the people on the boat threw peanuts into the water, so the Mallards followed them all around the pond and got another breakfast, better than the first. "I like this place," said Miss Mallard, as they climbed out on the bank and waddled along. "Why don't we build a nest and raise our ducklings right on this pond? There are no foxes, no turtles, and the people feed us peanuts. What could be better?" "Good, Mr. Mallard," said Mr. Mallard, delighted that at last Miss Mallard had found a place that suited her. "But look out!" squawked Miss Mallard, all of the thither. "Whoa, you'll get run over." And when she got her breath, she added, "This is no place for babies, with all these hurried things rushing about. We'll have to look somewhere else." So they flew over Beacon Hill and around the State House, but there was no place there. They looked in Louisburg Square, but there was no water to swim. Then they flew over the Charles River. "This is better," quacked Mr. Mallard. "This island looks like a nice quiet place, and it's only a little way from the public garden." "Yes," said Miss Mallard, remembering the peanuts, "that looks like the right place to hatch ducklings." So they chose a cozy spot among the bushes near the water and settled down to build their nest. And only just in time, for now they were beginning to molt. All their old wing feathers started to drop out, and they would not be able to fly again until the new ones grew in. But of course they could swim, and one day they swam over to the park on the river bank, and they met a policeman called Michael. Michael fed them peanuts, and after that the Mallards called on Michael every day. After Miss Mallard had laid 8 eggs in the nest, she couldn't go visit Michael anymore because she had to sit on her eggs to keep them warm. She moved off the nest only to get a drink of water, or to have her lunch, or to count her eggs to make sure they were all there. One day the ducklings hatched out. First came Jack, and then Cack, and then Lack, and then Mack, and then Knack, and then Whack, and then Pack, and then Quack. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were bursting with pride. It was a great responsibility taking care of so many ducklings, and it kept them very busy. One day Mr. Mallard decided that he'd like to take a trip to see what the rest of the river was like further on, so off he set. "I'll meet you in a week in the public garden," he quacked over his shoulder. "Take good care of the ducklings." "Don't worry," said Miss Mallard. I know all about bringing up children. And she did. She took really good care of her ducklings. She taught them how to swim and dive. She taught them how to walk in a line and come when they were called. Distance from bikes and scooters and other things with wheels and dangerous animals. When at last she felt perfectly satisfied with them, she said one morning, "Come along, children, follow me." Before you could wink an eyelash, Jack, Hack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack fell into a line just as they had been taught. Miss Mallard led the way into the water, and they swam behind her to the opposite bank. Waded across ashore and waddled along till they came to the highway. Hmm. Miss Mallard stepped across the road. Honk, honk, went the went the horns on the speeding cars. Quack, quack, went Miss Mallard as she tumbled back again. Quack, 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 went Jack, Cack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack, just as loud as their little quackers could quack. The cars kept speeding by and honking, and Miss Mallard and the ducklings kept right on quack, quack, quacking. They made such noise that Michael came running, waving his arm and blowing his whistle. Stop! He planted himself in the center of the road, raised one hand to stop the traffic, and then beckoned with the other, the way the policemen do, for Miss Mallard to cross the road over. As soon as Miss Mallard and the ducklings were safe on the other side and on their way down Mount Vernon Street, Michael rushed back to his police booth. He called Clancy at the headquarters and said, "There is a family of ducks walking down the street." Clancy said, "A family of what? Ducks?" "Ducks," yelled Michael. "Send the police car, quick." Meanwhile, Miss Mallard had reached the corner book shop and turned into Charles Street, with Jack, Cack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack all marching in line behind her. Everyone stared. An old lady from Beacon Hill said, "Isn't it amazing?" And the man who swept the street said, "Well, now, ain't that nice?" And when Miss Mallard heard them, she was so proud she tipped her nose in the air and walked along with an extra swing in her waddle. When they came to the corner of Beacon Street, there was a police car with 4 policemen that Clancy had sent from headquarters. The policemen held back the traffic so Miss Mallard and the ducklings could march across the street, right on into the public garden. Inside the gate, they all turned around to say thank you to the policemen. The policemen smiled and waved goodbye. When they reached the pond and swam across to the little island, Mr. Mallard was waiting for them, just as he had promised. The ducklings liked the new island so much that they decided to live there. All day long they followed the swan boats and ate peanuts. And when night falls, they swim to their little island and sleep. All right. I hope you enjoy this book. Bye. I love you.